Tribal Health and Human Services Department of the Confederated Salish and Kootenai Tribes is proud to present Good Medicine, a program dedicated to the wellness of the Flathead Nation. The mission is summarized quite simply: a healthier people, a stronger nation. We'll strive to make Good Medicine a reliable source of ideas and information about health issues so that everyone can make informed decisions about their own lifestyle and health care. You'll meet health professionals, tribal government and spiritual leaders, and interesting people from the tribal community discussing important health issues that profoundly affect us all.
Hello, this is Good Medicine. I'm your host, Larry Pitts, and guess what? We had the two same guests back we had last week. It's Linda Edwards, who is the Lake County Home Health Director of Hospice. Is that right? Or
Hospice Director.
Hospice Director. And Maureen Theiler, who is the Volunteer Coordinator of Hospice.
Very good.
There we go. I'm starting to get that down. And if you guys notice that I'm wearing the same shirt, it's because we're cutting this the same day as we cut the last one last week. Maureen, let's ask you the question about hospice. What is hospice? In case somebody just tuned in this week, didn't see what we said last week, and give us a little overview of what hospice is all about.
Well, I think people expect when they hear the word hospice to find a place, such as a building or a room. And really, hospice is a philosophy. And it is the way that a person is taken care of during the last stages of their death or their dying process. Mm-hmm. People who are terminally ill have been diagnosed by their physician as having 6 or less months to live, and they are not seeking curative care, and they want to stay at home. Mm-hmm. And hospice provides the environment for that by making basically the patient pain-free.
Okay.
Pain management is the #1 part of hospice.
All right. Linda, should the patient or who should be the one who gets in contact with hospice? I mean, who is the person who takes care of all those little details, basically?
Referrals to hospice can come from anybody. Mm-hmm. Most of the time we get ours from physicians, primary physicians, a lot from oncologists, cancer doctors in Kalispell, Missoula. Referrals from social services in the hospitals. Sometimes neighbors, sometimes friends. And what happens usually with that, if I get a call from, say you called and said you know of someone who might be able to use hospice, then we would probably go through their physician, mm-hmm. rather than calling them directly. Okay. We have had patients come to us. We've had people come to us and say, you know, I'm dying, and what can you do to help me? Mm-hmm.
Which is a real reaching out, asking you to come into their space, into their home, and I guess that's another question I have when you said that is there a time that's too early, or is there a time that's too late to call you guys?
Well, we prefer that we're on board, a couple weeks into this. We have had some, nobody can predict. Mm-hmm. I mean, we might think we have 2 months or 3 months, and they get on board and they're gone in a week. But we would prefer, the national average for a hospice stay is about 45 days. With us, we're averaging about 20.
So the last 3 weeks, basically.
About the last 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Would you like to see that extended out just a little bit? Do you have any preference in that?
I would like to see the 45-day whatever, because that gives us a chance to get on board and really get to know one another and what the needs are there for the family, and really be a part of the process, because that's what it is. It's a day-by-day process, mm-hmm. and to be able to guide them through that is real important.
Mm-hmm. Maureen, the volunteer coordinator, what do you say about that? I mean, how long would you like to see people involved in a death and dying situation?
Well, I certainly agree with the hospice philosophy because of the various reasons that Linda has mentioned. Another thing is that the family goes through a great deal of fixing fences, mending relationships, and oftentimes if someone is, let's say they're hospitalized, there is a great deal of freedom now in hospital coming and going. Sometimes it's limited because of a shared room or noise. We do rely on music thentology is used in the dying process too. A person who is in the comfort of their own home is in the beginning more secure, less afraid, can get up if they want, can go outside if they want. There are no restrictions as far as their movement about. And that's a very supportive thing, knowing that even in this process of dying, I still have some control about my life. And that's a great thing.
Oh, I think it's very important. You know, we've been talking about how the family has, becomes involved and how intricate that becomes, and how, a part of life it is to bring your family back, hopefully. How about the community? How is the community involved with this whole process, Linda?
Well,
Maureen, go ahead.
Maureen can do it.
I just did some recent things with the community. Of course, we've been functioning for about 3 years. And the best way is through whatever educational opportunities we can offer. And recently, and because this is November is National Hospice Month, Mission Valley Power, who serves the community of Lake County for the most part, has agreed to mail 11,000 hospice brochures. We were fortunate enough to have one of the banks in Ronan put the bill for the printing. And the more education that we can provide for the community, the better. The country store, which is located in Polson, sends us a check every month for $50, which can help take care of a patient for a half a day. And so that kind of support, the financial support, is great. The awareness support is, the education process is what needs to be before the community. So I think the community has been very receptive. We still drag heels, and there are heel marks in the grass in a few places, but we're working on that.
Well, about that $50 even, it's, if a person's in the hospital, that's about 25 ear swabs.
You're right.
I mean, you get charged, for all these things. I mean, the amount that this saves the whole system is tremendous. But not looking at the monetary savings, but what it does as far as the person's own well-being. That time to make peace with family, that time to make peace with the Creator, and it's all part of that process. And which brings me to probably my next question, and that is cultural. We live on a reservation. This is a tribal program. I mean, it's for tribal health. How does hospice affect the culture of somebody? Linda?
I was trying to think of what the percentage, I think we decided it was 25% or...
I think so. That's close.
Of the number of patients that we've had that have been tribal.
Okay.
There's been, as far as I'm concerned, there's been a more utilization of hospice by tribal people than in our own culture. And they've been my most incredible experiences. Getting involved with the smudging and the prayer, and even had a situation where the medicine man came. And I think the reason that it goes so well in the homes is because the philosophy parallels their beliefs. Getting back to taking care of their own and providing that. And that is a situation where extended family is incredible. I mean, I've been in homes where you walk over bodies in sleeping bags they're there for the duration of whatever it takes to help this person process. And you know, the last experience we had with the lady, she was the head of that family and the center, the focal of that family, and she wasn't in any hurry to leave and give up that role. But incredible experiences with the Native Americans. And there again, it's, you know, that the religious part, that supposedly we are a religious organization or whatever, and we're not. We go in and we take that family right from where they're at, whatever their beliefs are, whatever they think they need to do in that home, we allow that to happen. Have had an experience with a full-blown Norwegian man who had kind of a crazy idea as to how he wanted his burial to be. We didn't do that, but we did offer up some of the things that he wanted. But
he wasn't eating lutefisk on the way out.
No, he wanted to be set afire on a raft and pulled out across the Flathead Lake, because that's what the Vikings did. You know, they put their bodies in ships and they burned them. Well, we didn't think we could get a permit to do that, so we did not do that.
Okay.
But culturally, the Native American experience for me has just been heartwarming. There's been a real acceptance there, and I'm real honored that they allow me to be a part of their process.
Well, you were talking, Maureen, that this is the National Hospice Month, and I know that you guys been recognized by a national magazine. Do you want to talk about that just a little bit?
Absolutely. We had the opportunity last year to submit those things that we did for National Hospice Month to promote hospice. And we had a large mailing that was done. We did, in conjunction with the Lake County Council of Aging and the Lake County Alzheimer's Support Group, we had Dr. Ira Bayak, who is hospice president of the Hospice Medical Association in the United States. We were fortunate enough to have him come for a talk in Polson. And at the time, we thought if we could get 30 people, we would be just delighted. And the evening of his program, 114 people showed up. And so in filling out the information about that whole thing, it was submitted as what we did media-wise, and television, whatever. We had the station here did a promotion for us also, radio stations in the area, newspaper, and put that all together and submitted it to their national magazine. And we had a telephone call from a man in Texas, and he said, "I read about all the stuff you did for National Hospice Month. I'd like to have you tell me how you did some of that stuff so that we can do it in our program." And like us at the time, they had only one patient, as we did. And so I think that's quite a coup for a very young hospice, such as ours is.
It's a coup, and it's cool.
Yes.
And it's cool. You know, it's interesting just to be talking with the two of you over this last two programs, because what it does for me is it educates me. I'm sitting back here, and all of a sudden I'm starting to realize, yes, this can be for anybody. We address the cultural issue, being here on the reservation, and if somebody's out there in TV land or whatever watching this and saying, I have a question, will you allow this? And I know you will, but where can they get hold of you? Let's get some numbers right now. Linda?
Well, they can call me. My number is 883-7328. That's direct line into my office. And Maureen's is 883-7334.
Want to say that a little bit slower?
883-7334.
7334, okay.
And the number for the Home Health Agency is 883-7300.
And you do have voicemail.
And we have voicemail. And I would love to answer questions. I also would come and do visits, just even if they were not an admit visit, if it was just an informational visit with families or whatever, if they had questions.
Can a family pre-plan this before somebody is actually terminally ill? I mean, can they come down and become involved with you? I probably should direct this at Maureen because she's the volunteer coordinator. Isn't this a good way to bring somebody in as a volunteer that they may have questions?
Absolutely. And we do provide training for volunteers too. And most of our volunteers are folks who have had a similar experience in their own life or know about hospice from maybe where they lived before they moved into the Holston area, the Lake County area. And so we do train volunteers, and we would like to have a goodly amount because we bring in people who are experts in their field in like communication skills, people who teach about the precautions that need to be taken when you are taking care of a terminally ill patient, how to listen. Oftentimes our volunteers will go and do nothing but sit while the caregiver gets out to the beauty shop or runs errands or takes a bath. And we teach people how to do that, and then they are certified. They learn about grief and bereavement, and that is something unique probably to the hospice program is, and Linda could probably address that more, is what we do after the patient dies.
Part of the hospice philosophy is that we follow the family or significant people for 13 months after the hospice patient has passed away.
Now stop right there. You follow the family for 13 months, and yet you told me that you only deal with a death and dying person in Lake County for 20 days.
We fibbed.
Now, isn't that amazing, though? I mean, no, that's wonderful.
Yeah, that's part of the benefit, part of the program. We do a 1-month mailing, and to begin with, and we send out, at that time we send out a patient satisfaction form that kind of helps us with our quality assurance to see if we're doing what we need to be doing. And we do a 3-month mailing with grief and bereavement stuff, and 6 months, and then a 13-month one. We also do phone calls and visits if need be. One of the things that I've found, and this is probably something that has really changed as far as I'm concerned with death and dying, is that we have found that people who have experienced hospice in the process usually do real well in grief and really do not need a whole lot of support past the death of the client. Another thing that I'd like to bring up there too is that we can offer bereavement support, grief support to anybody in the county, whether or not they've had a person who has been involved with hospice. They can come, and we have literature and stuff, and a support group. If there are people out there who are interested in a bereavement support group, just get a hold of us, and we can get enough people interested. We can do another support group, and those usually run 6 to 8 weeks, and they are facilitated by trained people that deal with grief.
And do those support groups, after that 6 to 8 weeks, can they continue to go on as far as a support group with each other? I mean, without a coordinator? Or,
Sure.
You know, it's interesting you brought that up, because I've been around families who didn't want to address a terminal illness, and it seems like afterwards that they are just in a whirlpool. I mean, they're just spinning and not knowing which way is up. So they can get hold of you, and you will reach out and touch them in a positive way.
That's part of the community service as a hospice program, is that we can offer that. I've had people call and come by the office and visit that had some concerns about somebody who has died and were they handling it right or whatever. And we can also do referrals. You know, if we come across someone who's really having a tough time with grief, then we can make referrals to other community agencies where there's specialized people.
Well, see, that part right there has been worth my 2 sessions with you two, because I mean, I deal with people all the time, and I see people who are still in the grieving that need support. And I never knew where to turn them to. So what?
We've had in the last probably 2 months kind of an influx of people in the community, trained people in the community who would like to do a bereavement support group. And if we find the interest out there, we will, as a hospice program, will support that and be a part of that.
And you check their credentials, though, or their abilities, so.
Absolutely.
Because if you're out there and, and you're in grief, you're very cautious.
Yes.
Because it's very personal. I got a question that just popped in my mind. I mean, and you know how my mind works, so it's sort of scary. Hospice is working with the death and dying. Do you ever speed the process up for somebody to die?
No, no.
I mean, the Jack Kevorkian syndrome that's out there, I mean.
No.
That's not even in the configuration, right?
The hospice takes the line of not hastening death. It's just a comfort thing, and sometimes if people are allowed to be comfortable, people are allowed to not be having huge episodes of vomiting, where they're not focused on the pain or on the vomiting or whatever, sometimes to relax enough to let go. You can't actively die when you're throwing up or retching in pain. You cannot actively die. And sometimes you see that where they get into that comfort zone. Also with the spiritual part of what we do. Sometimes with the priest coming or a person who does massage like yourself comes, and it's just enough to help that person relax and let go.
So now, is the home the only place that you will deal with somebody? If somebody's, I know you're talking about going to some other areas. What if somebody's dying in the rest home or
We're looking at
in the hospital? And
We're looking at getting contracts with the nursing homes. Evergreen is real interested in. Of course, our own mother agency, St. Luke's, is interested. And that would be providing care for those people who live there. That's their home. They are entitled to the benefit, too. We haven't looked. I know in some areas they're doing group homes.
okay.
Kind of wherever there's a residential home for someone, if they qualify, they're entitled to hospice. We do not have a hospice house. Missoula has a hospice house that we have sent some people to. But basically right now it's in the home.
Okay. Is a hospice house in the future, Maureen?
That'd be great. Have dreams about it all the time.
Well, a volunteer coordinator, I would imagine.
7 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms, a big kitchen, all on one floor, with a view of the lake and the mountains. Probably some prime real estate in the area that someone might be willing to donate.
As a tax deductible
For a big tax
process?
write-off, yes.
I might know somebody.
Yes.
But isn't it amazing how our imagination can start to run? And we've been talking about an issue that had a lot of stigma about it, death and dying, and now we're talking about dreams and visions, and and that's, to me, you're taking an edge off the death and dying. What else can you say about taking that edge off, Linda?
In regards to what?
Towards the stigma that people have about being around somebody who's dying.
I guess I'm just going to go now with my own personal point of this. I've come to realize in the last maybe 6 months or so that not every nurse can deal with death and dying. And I guess I've just assumed that because you're a nurse and you've probably had an experience with people dying, that you should be able to buckle up and do this. But every time that I'm involved with a family, a client, and go through that process with them, it's just like I want to run out and grab everybody and say, come and see what's going on here. Like, for instance, last week, I would have loved to have had the whole agency with people who provide care to witness that. And I guess because of my own personal experience with it, I don't know how there can be a stigma attached. And I also use the parallelism that we don't come into this world. We are not born without some labor, and so therefore we cannot die without some labor.
It's interesting you brought that one back up, because being able to massage the mother in her dying bed, and have the daughter laying in the bed, holding the mom, stroking her head with me at the same time, having a son hang onto her hand. It was such a rewarding experience, and it was a wonderful ushering. You know, it was part of the life cycle, and that was really an experience. Have you? I know you haven't seen every experience, and I guess I sort of wonder. We're running out of time here, so it's probably going to be one of our last questions. You know, when you bring in pain medication, does that individual still know what's going on? I mean, what is the process there? I mean.
Well, you try to medicate the pain away. You know, there's the thing about people are concerned, terminally ill people will say, well, I don't want to get addicted, or I don't want to be out of it.
Okay.
And one of the things that I've witnessed with it is that you cannot get addicted if you have a terminal illness. The pain medication, particularly morphine, balances out the pain, the threshold. It compromises the pain threshold.
Okay.
And you know, there are the side effects of some pain medications, but once that pain is taken away, that person is able to function. Like I said earlier, you can't think about activities of daily living if you're in pain, and I don't care whether it's a headache, a toothache, or pain from bone cancer. So it takes that edge off, and you're able to function.
Maureen, you know, we're down into our last minute and a half or so. Final question for you is, you're the volunteer coordinator. Are you a nurse?
I'm not a nurse. I just play one on TV. That's my favorite line.
That's right.
No, I am not a nurse, and I never in all my dreams would have thought about being involved with hospice. I've lived in the Polson area for 31 years, and I've had lots of different jobs. And I went to the volunteer training session 3 years ago, and I'm the volunteer coordinator. And I love what I do, and I love having the opportunity of being part of what Linda talked about in homes with people. And it at first it's a little scary. It was a little scary because death is scary, but it has become, I have had so many wonderful life experiences that it cancels out or does away with those unknowns or those scary things.
All right. Well, ladies, again, it's been a pleasure. It's been a fast 28 and a half minutes. You've both been wonderful guests for the second program. I want to thank you. I want to thank everybody out there in TV land. And if you have any questions, get hold of Lake County Hospice. They're a wonderful program. They deserve your support if you feel so in tune to doing that. And I want to thank you for watching my program, and we'll see you next week. Thank you very much for watching. Good day.
Good Medicine is your program. We hope you watch this and subsequent programs to stay informed about your health care. And we'd like to hear from you about how we're doing. Please direct any comments or suggestions you have to us. You can reach us at